Ethan stared at the towering gates of the Aurorian palace, trying to calm his racing heart. He had never expected to be here, not as a visitor, not as a guest, and certainly not as someone who might stand out in a place filled with centuries of alien royalty. The palace's walls shimmered in the golden light of Auroria's twin suns, a structure so vast and majestic that it seemed impossible it had been built by any being. Yet here it was, a symbol of power, history, and elegance. And now, Ethan, a simple human from Earth, was about to enter its halls. He tugged nervously at his collar. His human clothing, plain and practical, felt entirely out of place among the flowing robes, metallic accents, and glowing jewels of the alien dignitaries around him. The ambassadors were from countless worlds, each with strange shapes, colors, and forms. Some had eyes that glowed softly. Others had limbs in numbers he couldn't count. And here he was, a human among them, small, unassuming, and distinctly ordinary. Yet, despite the difference in appearances, Ethan had a purpose. He had been invited not as a mere observer, but as a representative of Earth, an engineer who could solve problems, fix machines, and think in ways the aliens might not. And as he stepped through the palace gates, he could feel the weight of expectation pressing down on him. The grand hall stretched farther than he could see. High above, a dome of translucent crystal reflected the twin suns, sending streams of light that danced across the polished floors. The walls were lined with statues of Auroria's past leaders, their features elegant and serene. Hovering platforms carried servants, delivering refreshments and messages in a silent, graceful ballet. It was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. And yet, he reminded himself, he had to focus. He had to show them that humans were clever, capable, and, above all, brave. The ceremony began. A soft chime echoed through the hall, announcing the arrival of Princess Leora. Ethan had heard stories of her intelligent, courageous, and wise beyond her years. She was not only the future ruler of Auroria, but also a figure admired across galaxies for her diplomatic skills. And now, she was walking toward him, her presence commanding the attention of everyone in the room. Ethan felt a jolt of nerves as Leora's gaze swept over the hall. Her eyes were a striking shade of violet, deep and curious, as if she could see straight into a person's heart. When they landed on him, he felt a shiver run down his spine. Was she judging him? Evaluating if a human could be trusted among the Aurorian elite? Before he could gather his thoughts, a loud alarm rang through the hall. One of the ancient artifacts displayed on a pedestal, a floating orb of crystal and metal, had begun to glow violently, sparks flying from its surface. The room erupted into chaos. The alien dignitaries panicked, some retreating to the sides, others shouting instructions in languages Ethan could not understand. The artifact was supposed to be stable, a symbol of Auroria's advanced technology, and yet now it seemed ready to explode. Ethan's instincts took over. Without thinking, he sprinted toward the pedestal, weaving through startled officials and startled servants. Humans were often underestimated in situations like this. We were seen as fragile, he thought. Yet here he was, ready to prove otherwise. The orb hummed with increasing intensity. Ethan noticed small panels along its base that looked like they could be adjusted. He quickly examined the symbols and, using his engineering knowledge, began pressing and twisting switches. Sweat dripped down his forehead as sparks flew dangerously close to him. The crowd held its breath, watching as a human moved boldly, where the alien dignitaries hesitated. "Just a little more," Ethan muttered under his breath. He adjusted one final dial, and with a soft click, the orb's glow dimmed, returning to its normal, serene light. The alarm ceased. Silence filled the hall. Then, slowly, the dignitaries turned to him. Ethan's chest heaved as he realized what he had done. He had prevented what could have been a disaster. Princess Leora stepped forward, her violet eyes wide with surprise. "You fixed it," she said, her voice calm but full of astonishment. No one else dared to act. Ethan swallowed. I just tried to understand it," he said simply. "Sometimes machines need someone to think differently." The queen, who had been observing from her throne, leaned forward. Her presence was imposing, but not frightening. She had an air of wisdom that demanded respect. "Humans," she said softly, almost to herself. "Perhaps we have underestimated them." The murmurs in the hall grew louder. Guests whispered among themselves, pointing at Ethan. A human had done what the most advanced Aurorian engineers had hesitated to attempt. He had shown courage, quick thinking, and ingenuity traits that the aliens respected deeply. For the rest of the ceremony, Ethan remained under careful observation. He noticed that dignitaries who had initially ignored him now nodded in approval. Servants discreetly passed him refreshments, and even the princess seemed intrigued, watching him with a mixture of curiosity and admiration. Later, in a quieter part of the palace, Leora approached him. "Ethan," she said, her tone light but sincere, "you handled yourself well back there. You didn't panic. You didn't wait for others to act. And you didn't give up." Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. "Thank you, Princess. I just tried to do what made sense." Leora's smile was faint but meaningful. "Sometimes," she said, "doing what makes sense is exactly what others fail to do. Humans, you think differently, and that is rare here." For a moment, Ethan felt as if the palace had become smaller, more intimate. The distance between human and alien, outsider and royalty, seemed to shrink. He realized that this ceremony was not just a test of skill, it was a test of character. And somehow, humans had passed, at least for now. As the evening progressed, Ethan mingled with other guests, observing the elegance and complexity of Aurorian culture. He noticed how the aliens relied on tradition, on strict rules, and sometimes on fear of failure. Humans, by contrast, thrived on improvisation, creativity, and courage. Perhaps that was why he had succeeded where others might have faltered. Before the night ended, the queen summoned him. Ethan approached the throne with a mix of nervousness and pride. Aurora regarded him with a thoughtful expression. "Ethan," she said, her voice carrying the weight of centuries, "you have shown more than skill. You have shown bravery, quick thinking, and respect for life. Those qualities are rare in the galaxy." "Trime." Ethan bowed, unsure of what to say. "I thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what I thought was right." The queen's eyes softened. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "humans are more remarkable than we have ever realized." She leaned back, a faint smile on her face. "We will see how this unfolds." As the palace gates closed behind him that night, Ethan reflected on what had happened. He had arrived as a nervous guest, unsure of his place among the stars. But now, he felt a spark of hope. Perhaps humans were not just visitors in this galaxy. Perhaps they could shine, even among beings far more advanced. Little did he know, this was only the beginning. The events of this night would ripple through the palace, through Auroria, and through the entire galaxy. And somewhere, Princess Leora was already thinking about the human who had dared to act where others had hesitated. A human whose courage and ingenuity might change everything. The day after the ceremony, the palace was quiet, almost unusually so. Ethan walked through the corridors, still amazed at the beauty and complexity of Auroria. The walls shimmered with light, and the floors reflected the twin suns in soft, golden hues. Servants moved gracefully around him, carrying trays and messages. Always polite. Always watching. Ethan knew he had made an impression during the ceremony, but he also knew that admiration alone would not be enough. In Aurora, respect was earned through action, intelligence, and courage. And the Queen had made it clear with her words, the night before humans were rare in this galaxy, and their abilities were often underestimated. As he turned a corner, he found Princess Leora waiting for him. Her violet eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Ethan," she said, her voice light but firm. "The Queen has tasked me with a challenge, and I think you should join me." Ethan blinked in surprise. "A challenge?" he asked. "Yes," Leora said, smiling slightly. "It is not just a test of skill, but a test of character. The Queen wants to see if humans can handle the unpredictability of Aurora. There are many who believe that humans are clever only in small matters. Let us prove them wrong." Ethan's stomach tightened. He had expected recognition, maybe a small award, but not an actual challenge. And yet, he felt a spark of excitement. Humans thrived on challenges, on solving problems others thought impossible. "I will do my best," he said confidently. Leora led him to a large chamber at the far end of the palace. The room was vast, filled with artifacts from across the galaxy. Some hovered in midair, others glowed with energy that seemed almost alive. A series of platforms and devices were arranged in patterns that Ethan could not immediately understand. "This," Leora said, gesturing to the room, "is the test chamber. Many suitors, diplomats, and scholars have attempted challenges here. They are designed to reveal qualities beyond knowledge, qualities such as bravery, resourcefulness, and empathy. You will need all of them to succeed." Ethan nodded. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. The first platform beneath his feet hummed lightly, reacting to his weight. A soft voice echoed in the chamber. "Welcome, candidate. Begin your journey." The room shifted. Walls moved, platforms rose and fell, and strange, glowing symbols appeared in midair. Ethan realized that this challenge was more than physical. It would test his mind, his instincts, and his courage. The first obstacle was a bridge suspended over a glowing pit. The panels beneath his feet moved unpredictably, forcing him to balance carefully. He took his time, observing the patterns, and then, using a mix of timing and logic, crossed safely. He heard a soft chime of approval. Leora smiled, noting his calm determination. Next, he reached a series of panels that required coordination. Each panel lit up with a sequence of colors, and stepping on them in the wrong order would trigger a harmless but startling electric pulse. Ethan focused, remembering the logical sequences he had studied as an engineer. Step by step, he navigated the panels, even managing to anticipate the sequences before they appeared. The chamber seemed almost surprised no human had ever solved it so quickly. Finally, he came to a room filled with mirrors. At first glance, it appeared to be a simple maze, but Ethan quickly realized the mirrors reflected illusions. Some paths were false, leading to dead ends, while others concealed invisible barriers. He paused, thinking like a human problem solver, observing subtle differences in reflections. Using his intuition and careful observation, he chose the correct path, impressing even Leora. The last test awaited him in a chamber filled with glowing crystals. In the center floated a small, fragile-looking vessel. Inside it, a glowing core pulsed erratically. Leora explained that it contained a message for a distant colony, one that relied on precise handling. Many candidates had failed here, either breaking the vessel or misreading the instructions. Ethan studied the vessel. He noticed faint markings and subtle shifts in the glow. Drawing on his human experience, he carefully adjusted the vessel's orientation, pressed a series of controls in sequence, and stabilized the core. A soft hum filled the chamber, and the vessel's light became steady and bright. Leora's eyes widened. You did it," she said. "I have not seen anyone human or alien handle this so precisely." You have courage, logic, and care in equal measure. Truly, you are remarkable." Ethan smiled, feeling a rush of pride. "I just focused on what I could see and what I knew," he said simply. "Sometimes the best way is the way that makes sense." Leora's expression softened. "That is what sets humans apart. You think differently, yet clearly. Many are clever, but few combine thought with courage and heart." For a moment, they stood in silence, the glow of the chamber reflecting in their eyes. Then Leora spoke again. "I have one more task for you, Ethan. It is not in this room, or any room at all. It is beyond the palace, in the skies, above Aurora." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Beyond the palace?" "Yes," she said. "The outer colony, near the northern lights, is in danger. A rogue energy storm has formed, and it could damage the colony's infrastructure. The Queen has authorized me to investigate, but we will need someone clever and brave, someone who can think fast under pressure. I want you to come with me." Ethan's heart pounded. This was no simulation or chamber test, this was real. They prepared for the journey. The palace provided a sleek, winged vehicle capable of flying at incredible speeds. Leora piloted it expertly, and Ethan helped monitor instruments and navigate. As they left the city behind, Aurora stretched below them. A landscape of forests, mountains, and rivers, glowing softly in the light of the twin suns. Soon, they reached the northern colony. From the sky, Ethan could see the storm. A swirling mass of energy, crackling with light and heat, moving unpredictably toward the settlement. The alien residents scurried, attempting to stabilize energy shields, but their efforts seemed futile. Ethan quickly assessed the situation. "The shield generators," he said, pointing to several floating devices, "are out of sync. If we can synchronize them, we can redirect the storm's energy." Leora looked impressed. "Can you do it?" "I can try," he said. "I just need access to the controls." Together, they landed near the generators. Ethan worked swiftly, connecting circuits, adjusting flow patterns, and reprogramming timing sequences. Sparks flew, lights blinked, and the storm loomed closer. But Ethan remained calm. Leora watched, amazed at his focus and determination. Finally, with a soft hum and a bright flash, the generators synchronized. The storm's energy was redirected harmlessly into the atmosphere, dissipating safely over the northern plains. The colony was saved. Residents cheered, and Leora turned to Ethan, her violet eyes shining with admiration. You saved them," she said. "Humans are extraordinary." 3:17 C:1. Ethan felt a warmth he had never known. It was not just pride or relief. It was the sense of being seen, truly seen, for his abilities, his courage, and his heart. That evening, as they returned to the palace, Leora spoke quietly. "You have proven more than skill, Ethan. You have shown bravery, intelligence, and care. That is rare in this galaxy, even among aliens." Ethan smiled, humbled by her words. "I only did what I thought was right." The Queen was waiting when they returned. She studied Ethan carefully, her eyes sharp and thoughtful. "I have observed your actions," she said slowly, "and I must admit, humans are not what we expected. You are clever, brave, and capable. Perhaps, in time, your kind may take a place among the great families of the galaxy." Ethan bowed, unsure how to respond. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I am honored." The Queen's expression softened into a rare smile. "We shall see, Ethan. For now, you have my attention, and that is not given lightly." As the night settled over the palace, Ethan reflected on the events of the day. From a nervous guest to a problem solver and hero, he had begun to prove that humans could shine in ways even advanced alien civilizations might not expect. And somewhere, he felt, Princess Leora was beginning to see him not just as a guest, but as someone who could stand beside her, someone whose heart, mind, and courage might make a lasting mark on Aurora. The Aurorian Palace was unusually quiet the morning after Ethan's mission to save the northern colony. Word had spread quickly. A human had solved a problem that even the palace's most skilled engineers had failed to handle. Murmurs of astonishment echoed through the hallways, and servants whispered among themselves about the courage, intelligence, and calm precision of the Earthling. Ethan walked through the palace gardens, trying to remain unnoticed, though it was clear that the palace itself seemed to notice him. The twin suns of Aurora cast a golden glow over the flowering trees and crystal fountains. For a moment, he felt at peace. The weight of the Queen's scrutiny, the expectations of the aliens, and the pressure of the challenge seemed lighter in this serene garden. "Ethan," a soft voice called. He turned to see Princess Leora approaching, her violet eyes bright with curiosity and amusement. She stopped a few feet away, folding her hands in front of her. "I must say, you continue to amaze me," she said. "Even after the test chamber and the northern colony, I hear that your calmness and quick thinking have become the talk of the palace." Ethan smiled modestly. "I just try to stay calm and do what seems right. I never thought it would matter so much here." Modestly, "I never thought it would matter so much here." "It matters more than you know," Leora replied. "Aurora values skill, yes, but above all, we value courage, creativity, and honesty. Humans, you have a way of showing all three without even realizing it." Before Ethan could respond, a sudden commotion erupted near the main hall. Courtiers and nobles had gathered in small groups, whispering and glancing in Ethan's direction. A few seconds later, Leora's hand gently touched his arm. "Come," she said softly. "The Queen wishes to see you." Ethan followed, trying to steady his breathing. The Queen's throne room was vast, with intricate carvings along the walls and a polished floor that reflected the glow of floating lanterns. The Queen herself sat at her throne, observing him with an expression that was calm, yet filled with hidden calculation. "Ethan," she began, her voice echoing through the room, "your actions have been noted. You have saved a colony, outperformed many of our engineers, and acted with courage in ways that few aliens or humans could match. This is no small feat." Ethan bowed. "I only did what I could, Your Majesty." The Queen's lips curved into a faint smile. "Humility is a rare quality among those who achieve greatness. You possess it. And yet, there is more that I am curious about." Ethan frowned slightly. "More, Your Majesty?" "Yes," the Queen said, her eyes glittering. "The northern colony was only the first step. The test chamber was only the beginning. True character is revealed not only by action, but by connection. How do you interact with others, especially those you hold in respect or care for?" Ethan felt his heart race. He had never been tested in this way. Not by alien royalty. Not by anyone. He opened his mouth to speak, but Leora suddenly stepped forward. "I can answer that," she said, her voice calm but firm. She approached Ethan and, to the astonishment of everyone in the room, lightly pressed her lips to his cheek. The movement was quick, delicate, and unexpected. The room fell completely silent. Nobles, courtiers, and even palace guards froze in shock. A human, a being so small and unassuming, had been kissed by the Princess of Aurora. The gesture was entirely unprecedented. No alien of their status would have allowed such contact. Ethan's face burned. He didn't know where to look. He stammered. Leora's violet eyes sparkled as she smiled. "There," she said softly. "That is how a human shows bravery, kindness, and respect, without fear, without hesitation. You handled everything so well. It seemed only right to show my appreciation. The queen leaned forward slightly, her hands folded in her lap. Finally, she said, her voice calm but carrying weight. We may have found a son-in-law worthy of the Aurorian family. Murmurs rippled through the room again, this time filled with surprise and astonishment rather than curiosity. The courtiers whispered among themselves. A human, a species long underestimated, had earned not only admiration for skill and courage, but also the trust and affection of the princess herself. Ethan swallowed hard. I am honored, he said, finally finding his voice. Leora smiled. You are more than honored, Ethan. You are remarkable. As the day progressed, Ethan found himself pulled into conversations. Not as an outsider, but as someone the palace genuinely wanted to observe and understand. Nobles and diplomats approached him with questions about Earth, about humans, about his ways of thinking. Some were curious, some skeptical, but all were attentive. Ethan noticed one thing clearly. Humans were rare in the galaxy. Most alien species relied on tradition, authority, or inherited skill. Humans, on the other hand, relied on creativity, adaptability, and courage. And in moments of crisis, those qualities often made the difference between success and failure. By evening, the palace held a small celebration in Ethan's honor. Jewel-colored lanterns floated above the gardens, casting soft lights across the fountains and blooming flowers. Music played a combination of soft string instruments and low, resonant chimes. Leora stood nearby, watching him, her expression unreadable yet kind. Ethan approached her. Princess. Leora shook her head. Perhaps that is because humans are underestimated. We expect you to fail, to struggle, or to be fragile. But you surprise us. Not with power, not with strength, but with intelligence, bravery, and heart. You act when others hesitate. That is rare in the galaxy. Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth that had little to do with pride. Thank you. I only do what I can. I just try to do what is right. The princess nodded. And that is why you matter. Not because of your strength, or your technology, or even your courage alone, but because of how you see the world. You act with care, with logic, and with heart. That combination, it is rare. Later, as the celebration continued, Ethan noticed a group of nobles who seemed uneasy. They whispered, glancing at him with suspicion. Among them were a few suitors, alien nobles who had hoped to win Leora's favor through skill, power, or heritage. The arrival of a human, an outsider, threatened their expectations. One particularly tall alien, with shimmering silver skin and long, elegant horns, approached Ethan. So, the humans think they can enter our circles, impress the princess, and claim honor among us? He said, his tone dripping with challenge. Ethan met his gaze steadily. I do not claim anything, he said simply. I only do what is right. The alien frowned. We shall see, he said, turning away, clearly unsettled by Ethan's calm. The night grew quiet again, and Ethan found himself alone on a balcony, looking out over the city. Lights sparkled in the distance, and the twin suns had dipped below the horizon, leaving a sky of deep purple and gold. He reflected on the day's events, from a nervous guest to a problem solver, to someone trusted and respected by the princess. He had come farther than he could have imagined. Leora appeared beside him silently, leaning against the balcony railing. You've done more than save a colony, Ethan. You've begun to change the way this palace, and perhaps the entire galaxy, views humans. Ethan looked at her. I didn't expect to. I never thought humans could be recognized like this. Chat. I wanted a part of the Darg. I would not reblighted. I would not see no. Perhaps recognition was not the goal, Leora said softly. Perhaps understanding was. Humans are unique. You act with courage, but also with empathy. You think logically, but also care deeply. That combination, it can inspire even the most advanced species. Ethan smiled quietly. I will do my best to live up to that. Leora's gaze lingered on him. You already have, she said. Then, leaning slightly closer, she whispered, and that is why I kissed you today. Ethan's heart raced. It was not just a gesture of affection, it was a statement. In a palace of centuries-old rules and traditions, a human had been accepted not just for skill, but for character. And in that moment, he understood that his journey had only begun. The balcony was silent, filled only with the sound of the distant fountains and the soft wind. Ethan looked at the stars above, imagining the galaxies beyond. He realized that humans, though small and few in number, had the ability to leave a mark on the universe, not through power or weaponry, but through ingenuity, courage, and heart. And as he stood there with Princess Leora beside him, he knew one thing for certain. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were capable, respected, and perhaps, in time, unstoppable. The palace had never been so tense. Rumors of the human who had impressed Princess Leora and the Queen had spread like wildfire through the corridors, and not all of Auroria's nobles welcomed the attention he received. Some whispered behind closed doors, questioning whether a human could truly belong in the royal circles. Ethan sensed it, even without trying. He noticed the cold stares during ceremonies, the subtle snickers from some of the nobles, and the lingering doubts from those who valued heritage over courage. Humans were still a rare species in the galaxy. Few had seen one act with both intelligence and bravery. To the Aurorians, Ethan was an anomaly, a surprise that unsettled the established order. Princess Leora approached him in the gardens one morning, her expression serious. Ethan, there are whispers, she said softly. Not everyone is pleased with your presence here. Some suitors believe you do not belong. Others fear that a human could challenge their influence. Ethan nodded, trying to hide his unease. I expected that, he said. I can't change how others see me. I can only act correctly. That is true, Leora replied, smiling faintly. And your actions have already begun to speak louder than words. But you must also be careful. Some will try to test you, not for skill, but to see if you can fail. Ethan took a deep breath. Then I will show them what humans can do. That very afternoon, a challenge was announced. A complex strategic game, a test of intellect, timing, and diplomacy, was to be held in the palace's grand hall. Noble families often used it to demonstrate skill, form alliances, or settle disputes. Today, Ethan would participate, alongside alien suitors who had been trained in this game for decades. The game's mechanics were intricate. Participants had to move pieces across a glowing board, each step affecting the flow of energy in the palace. Mistakes could cause minor disruptions or force players to restart. But the true challenge was not just the mechanics, it was predicting opponents, anticipating strategy, and adapting to unexpected events. Ethan examined the board carefully. Unlike the aliens, who relied on memorized sequences and inherited tactics, he relied on observation, logic, and intuition. Slowly, he began to make his moves. At first, the alien suitors sneered, confident that their experience would dominate the human. But Ethan's strategy was different. He noticed patterns that the others overlooked, predicted moves based on subtle hints in their behavior, and adapted to each surprise the game presented. Time and again, He found solutions that seemed impossible, combining creativity with careful thought. The nobles were shocked. Whispers ran through the hall. A human. Seeing patterns we never noticed. Impossible. Yet he is correct. Even the queen observed quietly. Her expression calm, but her eyes gleaming with interest. One suitor, the tall, silver-skinned alien who had confronted Ethan before, grew increasingly frustrated. He attempted a bold move, hoping to corner Ethan and force him into failure. But Ethan had anticipated it. With a series of careful adjustments, he not only defended his position, but turned the trap back on his opponent, winning a decisive advantage. The room erupted in astonishment. Even the other players could not hide their admiration. Humans were clever, yes, but Ethan had shown something more, the ability to combine reasoning with quick adaptation. The queen leaned forward slightly, nodding in approval. The game concluded with Ethan victorious. He had not only matched the skill of the best Aurorian players, but had done so with creativity and calm under pressure. The crowd was silent for a moment, then erupted into applause. For the first time, many nobles began to see that humans could be more than mere guests, they could be worthy of respect. But the trials were not over. That evening, as Ethan walked through the palace corridors, he noticed something strange. A group of rival suitors, huddled together, whispering, and casting glances in his direction. Their expressions were hard, determined, and slightly threatening. Princess Leora caught his gaze and gave him a small nod. "Be cautious," she whispered. "Some will not accept your place easily. They may attempt to create a situation where you could fail." Ethan's heart pounded, but he nodded. He knew humans had a unique advantage, the ability to remain calm and think logically under pressure. If they attempted sabotage, he would rely on observation, reasoning, and courage, the qualities that had already saved him once. Sure enough, that night, during a palace event celebrating his victory, the rival suitors attempted their plan. They created a disturbance in the central hall, designed to mislead the palace guards and disrupt a delicate energy conduit powering the building. If it failed, it could cause minor damage, but the blame would likely fall on Ethan. Ethan observed calmly from across the hall. He noticed small anomalies, the misplaced conduits, the subtle energy spikes, and the deliberate diversions. Instead of panicking, he began analyzing the situation. Using his knowledge of human engineering and problem-solving, he adjusted the energy flow through nearby conduits, rerouting power safely and stabilizing the system. The disturbance fizzled harmlessly. The rival suitor's plan failed entirely. More than that, Ethan's actions were noticed by the queen herself. She rose from her throne, her expression firm yet approving. "Ethan," she said, her voice echoing, "you have not only demonstrated skill and intelligence, but also the ability to act decisively. When tested unfairly, that is rare, even among Auroria's finest." The rival suitors could only look on, frustrated and humbled. Humans, they realized, were not predictable or weak. They were capable, courageous, and adaptable. Princess Leora approached Ethan once the crowd had dispersed. "You handled that perfectly," she said. "You did not panic. You did not act rashly. You saw the truth of the situation and acted with both caution and decisiveness. That is what makes you remarkable." Ethan smiled, feeling warmth in his chest. "I only acted with what I knew. Humans are used to adapting when situations change. That is how we survive and succeed." Leora's eyes softened. "And that is why you are earning respect, Ethan. Not through heritage, or strength, or magic, but through courage, intelligence, and heart. You show qualities that even the most advanced aliens value." The next day, The queen herself summoned Ethan. The throne room was quiet, the sunlight streaming through the crystal windows casting soft patterns across the floor. "You have proven yourself in ways many did not expect," the queen said, her voice calm but full of authority. "You have saved a colony, outperformed our best minds, and handled sabotage with skill and integrity. You have shown the galaxy what humans can do when they act with thought, courage, and heart." Ethan bowed. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I am honored to serve." The queen's gaze softened. "You are more than a guest, Ethan. You are a symbol of what your species can achieve. Perhaps, in time, humans will be recognized not for their rarity, but for their unique qualities. Courage, intelligence, adaptability, and heart. Those are the traits that matter, and you possess them all." Ethan felt a deep sense of pride, but also humility. He had not acted for recognition, but for what he believed was right. And yet, now, he realized that humans could truly leave a mark in the galaxy, not through force, not through power, but through character, ingenuity, and courage. As he left the throne room, Princess Leora joined him once more. "Ethan," she said softly, "you are changing perceptions not just here, but across the stars, and for that, I am grateful and proud." Ethan looked at her, feeling a mix of pride and warmth. "I only do what I can," he said. "I hope that is enough." "It is more than enough," Leora replied. "You are showing what humans can truly be, and that is something even the oldest civilizations must respect." The sun set over the palace gardens, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold. Ethan walked beside Princess Leora, thinking of all that had happened. He had faced challenges, won respect, and even the queen herself had acknowledged humanity's potential. And yet, he knew the journey was not over. Rival suitors still lurked, traditions still lingered, and the galaxy was vast and full of unexpected tests. But for the first time, Ethan felt a certainty deep within him. Humans could shine, not because of strength, but because of courage, heart, and the ability to think where others hesitated. That night, as stars twinkled above Aurora, Ethan realized that the trials of acceptance were far from over, but he was ready. With Princess Leora by his side, and the queen observing with cautious approval, humans had begun to prove their worth, and the galaxy, for the first time, was beginning to take notice. The morning sun of Aurora bathed the palace in a soft golden light, reflecting off the crystal walls and casting gentle beams across the gardens. The palace was alive with activity, yet there was a sense of anticipation in the air. Word had spread throughout the palace and even the city. Ethan, the human, had proven himself through courage, intelligence, and integrity. Today, the queen would hold a formal ceremony to recognize those who had shown exceptional service, and the rumors suggested that humans might finally be acknowledged. Ethan walked through the grand corridors, accompanied by Princess Leora. His steps were steady, but his heart thumped with nervous excitement. Though he had already faced challenges, earned respect, and even impressed the queen, he could not help but feel the weight of the moment. The palace was centuries old, and humans were rare visitors. Acknowledgement here was not given lightly. Leora glanced at him, her violet eyes soft but filled with warmth. "You have nothing to fear, Ethan," she said gently. "Your actions speak for themselves. Today, the palace will see what I have known for weeks. Humans are remarkable." Ethan smiled, though his nerves remained. "I only hope they see it clearly." The ceremony began in the main hall, a vast chamber of polished floors and towering crystal walls. Nobles, ambassadors, and dignitaries from across the galaxy had gathered, their colorful robes and intricate designs filling the room. At the center of the hall stood the queen, her presence commanding yet calm, observing the crowd with a sharp and thoughtful gaze. Ethan stepped forward as Princess Leora guided him to the front of the hall. A hush fell over the audience, as whispers spread. Humans, so rarely honored in Aurora, were being recognized before the entire court. Some faces displayed curiosity, some doubt, but all eyes were on him. The queen rose from her throne. Her voice echoed through the hall, carrying authority and clarity. Today, we honor those who have shown courage, intelligence, and integrity. But among all, one stands out, not for heritage, not for wealth, not for inherited skill, but for action, heart, and the ability to rise when others hesitate. Ethan felt his chest tighten. Every eye in the hall was upon him. He glanced at Leora, who gave a small, encouraging nod. The queen's gaze returned to him. End quote. Ethan, human of Earth, the queen continued. You have saved a colony, outperformed our finest minds, and acted decisively when tested, unfairly. You have not only shown skill, but also the qualities we hold most dear: courage, wisdom, and compassion. For this, you are recognized not merely as a guest, but as an individual worthy of honor among the Aurorian family. The hall erupted into applause. Some clapped cautiously, unsure how to respond to a human being honored in such a way. Others cheered wholeheartedly, impressed by the courage and intelligence the human had displayed. Ethan stood still, a mix of pride, humility, and disbelief flooding through him. The queen continued, her tone softening. Humans are rare in this galaxy, yet this one has shown that rarity does not define weakness. Instead, it can define potential. Courage, heart, and intelligence are not bound to species, they are bound to individuals. And today, one human has proven that he embodies all these qualities. Leora stepped forward, placing a hand gently on Ethan's arm. And that is why, she said, her voice warm, he has earned my respect and my trust. More than that, he has earned a place beside me, should he choose it. Ethan felt his face flush. The hall went silent again, all eyes turning toward the princess. The gesture was unprecedented, a declaration of trust and recognition from Aurora's future ruler to a human. It was a moment that had no equal in the palace's long history. The rival suitors, who had once tried to undermine him, now stood quietly, their expressions a mixture of frustration, awe, and reluctant admiration. The human who had been underestimated had shown them all that courage, intelligence, and heart were stronger than tradition, wealth, or power. The queen spoke once more. Let this be a lesson to all. Strength is not measured by lineage or technology alone, but by action, thought, and integrity. Let humans, and all beings, learn from this example. Ethan bowed deeply, feeling a warmth unlike any he had known. Thank you, Your Majesty, he said. I only did what I thought was right. The queen's eyes softened. And that is why your actions matter. You represent not just yourself, but the potential of your people. Let this day mark a new understanding of what humans can achieve. After the formal ceremony, the hall opened into the gardens for a celebration. Lanterns floated gently above, their light mingling with the glow of the twin suns. Music played softly, and nobles mingled, offering words of congratulations, curiosity, and respect. Ethan walked beside Leora, who smiled at him. You have done more than prove yourself, she said. You have changed perceptions. Humans are no longer seen as fragile or weak. They are seen as capable, clever, and courageous. Ethan shook his head, humbled. I only acted as humans always do when faced with challenges. We try, we adapt, and we do what we can. I never expected to make this kind of difference. That is what makes humans remarkable, Leora replied. You do not act for recognition. You act because it is right. And in that, you shine brighter than most. As the evening progressed, Ethan noticed how differently the court treated him. Nobles who had once been distant now approached him with respect, asking questions about Earth, about humans, and about his methods. He realized that his presence had opened a door, one that allowed the galaxy to see humans as more than curiosity, more than novelty, but as beings capable of greatness. Later, near the palace balcony, Leora turned to Ethan. "Do you understand what you have done?" she asked softly. "You have not just earned honor for yourself. You have shown the galaxy what humans can do. You have given hope to your people, and earned respect, where few thought it possible." Ethan looked out over the city, the lights twinkling like stars. I think I understand," he said. "Humans can make a difference, not through force, but through courage, heart, and ingenuity. That is our strength." Leora's smile widened. "Exactly. And that is why I wanted you by my side. Not as a guest, but as someone who can think, act, and care in ways that even the most advanced societies can learn from." As they watched the sunset, the queen approached, her robes flowing gracefully. "Ethan," she said, her voice calm but filled with warmth, "you have earned more than recognition. You have earned the respect of this palace, of your peers, and of this family. Humans are few among the stars, but today, you have shown that one human can change perceptions, inspire respect, and demonstrate the power of heart and mind combined." Ethan bowed, feeling both pride and humility. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will continue to do my best." The queen nodded, her eyes gleaming. "That is all I could ever ask. And perhaps one day, humans will not be rare visitors, but recognized partners in the galaxy's future." The evening ended with celebration. Music, laughter, and conversation filled the palace gardens. Ethan found himself talking with aliens of every shape and color, sharing ideas, stories, and even small jokes. For the first time, he felt fully accepted not as a human guest, but as an individual capable of making a difference. As night fell over Aurora, Ethan stood on the balcony once more, Leora by his side. "You have done something incredible, Ethan," she said. "You have shown that humans are not to be underestimated. You have shown that courage, heart, and intelligence can change the world, any world." Ethan looked at the stars above, twinkling brightly in Aurora's twin skies. "I think humans are ready to shine," he said softly. "Even among the stars." Leora smiled and leaned closer. "And you, Ethan, have proven that humans do not need to wait to be seen. They can act, they can inspire, and they can earn respect anywhere. You have begun a new chapter not just for yourself, but for all your people." In that moment, the palace felt alive with possibility. Humans, once rare and underestimated, had begun to make their mark. And Ethan, standing beside Princess Leora, realized that the journey of recognition, respect, and courage was only beginning, but the foundation had been laid. For the first time, he felt truly part of the galaxy. Not as an outsider, but as a being capable of inspiring change, proving that heart and mind together could achieve greatness. And in the quiet glow of the Aurorian night, the palace knew. Humanity was no longer a curiosity. Humanity had arrived.